All right, welcome back. We're going to get started doing a little page design. So here inside of Dreamweaver, we just took a look at some basic sorts of CSS. We did redefined tags and we did a class or two. For the moment, we need to move forward. We're going to make a new HTML document. And I'm just going to save it under whatever name I like. Guess I'll call this one Design. And this is going to become the design that we will save as a template and use to mass produce pages. So let's take a look at these guys because they're a little different. Insert, layout objects, div tag. All right, first one. The holder, the container, the wrapper, whatever you feel like calling it. I hope you understand its job, which is just to generally position the content. So let's see. Add insertion point, wrapper. Nothing else to say about it. Okay. Now, as it appears here, it makes sense to immediately go and create whatever CSS is going to help you position the following divs. It just makes it a little easier to make sure that you're on the right track as you go forward from here. So, new CSS rule. It's an ID called wrapper. Okay. I don't really care very much about font family at the moment. I'm just going to say box width 85%, and playing around with margins over here, we'll say right auto, left auto, apply. And if you take a look up here, you'll see it's using 85% and it's centered from side to side. So that's really all I'm asking that guy to do. How about this? Insert, layout objects, div tag. So to state it out front, although you can probably guess perfectly well, this is going to have a header, navigation, main content area, and footer, the simple pattern that we've been following. So the first thing is the name, or the ID. Let's call this one header. Now, this is where you cannot afford to go to sleep. It's not wraparound selection, it's not after, it's not before. In this weird case, and this is the only one that does this, it's either after start of tag or it's before end of tag, because either one of those two choices puts it inside of wrapper, if it's after the start or before the end. I don't care. I'm just going to say before the end, and I still have to remain awake enough to say which tag is it exactly that this should come before the end of, and it's got to be the wrapper. Okay. I'm going to throw a little style in there, nothing very fancy. You can see this is a compound called wrapper header. I'm just going to put in a little background color somewhere down in here. That's a little pinker than I had in mind. Let's go for that. Okay, and it may seem strange, but I'm just going to hit OK. Now, in this case, what's going on in this div is supposed to be a mix of an image and a background color. So it's just those two things working together. So here's insert image, pictures. Here's my my header, the teleport picture. And you notice I didn't set this picture as a background. Sometimes you use a background picture, sometimes you don't. But when you want something to show up in there properly, you generally just drop it in like I just did. All right, next, insert, layout objects, div tag. Who's this? Navigation. So I'll just call him nav, and I'll say after tag. This is where the after tag begins, because now that the header is inside the wrapper, everybody else can just come after the header and they'll be safely in the right spot too. So I've got to make sure, let's see, after tag nav in the wrapper. Sounds good to me. Now, I made a mistake. And, oh yeah, I actually meant to do that. Now, what I should have done was basically say after tag header. Now, this is kind of weird, but I want to show you how this works. So I went into the code. Here's the one called nav. And if you look carefully, you can see it's coming after wrapper. It's after it. So look at design again. That means it's outside. And look, if you look at this and you see these guys are the same width, and this one is a totally different width, and it's stretching all the way across the page, then you know it didn't get into wrapper. It didn't get inside there. It fell outside, and it's just doing its own thing. But if I'm in code, this is kind of weird, I know, but if I'm in code and I select that div like this, that's the div for that, that's the div code right there. I can literally drag it so that it falls right inside wrapper after header. Okay. I'll refresh my HTML. Let's go back and look at the design, and hopefully it's okay. And it is. See how it's inside now? So then I'll go new CSS rule. It's a compound wrapper nav. I will just say, why don't you use trebuchet at about 18 pixels, and why don't you have a white background? That might not seem necessary yet, but it's going to help a little later. Okay. All right, next. Insert. Layout objects. Div tag. This one's main. Main goes after tag. Who? Does it come after wrapper? Nope, that would dump it out on the page all by itself. It comes after nav. Okay. And main definitely deserves a little bit of formatting, so let's put a new CSS rule on there. It's a compound, wrapper main. Okay. No special font family, but let's go to background. I've got a little semi-transparent picture I'm going to use, and again, you won't really see anything exciting about it yet. And under box, I'm going to say, why don't we put some padding around it, like 25 pixels in every direction. Okay, so you can see there it is. One more, insert, layout objects, div tag. Okay, last guy following this basic rule. This is footer. It comes after tag main. And bang, there it is. Now, just a little quick style, new CSS rule. Okay. And I'm going to borrow the background color from the header. And then I'm just going to insert an image into it. I'm clicking inside of it, insert image. And we're going to grab the footer picture, which I have on hand here. And a little bit of quick cleanup. I'm going to strip the unnecessary text out of a couple of these. Now I'm going to leave it for main, I'm going to leave it for nav, because it's going to be easier to edit those areas later if there's something to hold on to. But I'm going to strip it out for header, and I'm going to strip it out for wrapper. Okay. The last thing is I'm going to put up a body tag. I'm going to redefine the body tag, right? So new CSS rule. It's not an ID. It's not a compound. It's not a class. It's a tag. Now I got lucky and the word body appeared there, but it won't always do that, so be prepared to type it. Okay. Font family, Arial Helvetica, background, And I've got this big picture I'm going to use for this, which will not be fabulous, but it's okay. So there we go. That's our page design. I'm going to save it, and going to come back in a couple of minutes and make a new video about turning this thing into a template and using it to create our pages. So, adios for now.